Good evening, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. 9:45, so I'm counting this as late night. It's late night for me because I've been up since about 4 this morning. Took Beth down to the port and she spent another day trying to put into effect what we've learned about changing documents, all the spellings and incorrections. Is that a word? Well, if you have corrections, can you have incorrect? Well, anyway, stuff that's wrong. She had to take some more documents down. Of course, she did the usual. She said, "Is this everything that we need?" She was assured, yes it is. And then she came back and she got what she needed. Late last night, she sorted everything out. And then she took what she had and was turned down again. Of course, you need to go back and do all of your documents again, which she did the sensible thing. She walked out the door and said okay, and then she went and she saw somebody else and they said, "That's fine, we can do with this, we can work it." And so now she has, apparently at least to one person, has complied, and the documents will now be sent to Manila. I'm not quite sure how they do that, whether they send that by carabao and sled or whatever they do, or a postman who rides his bike until his hat floats and then swims the rest of the way. Not quite sure how it works, but anyway, she's going to handle it. So what we were actually looking at is I am going to be baptized. I'm not planning on doing any preaching in this video, so you can take your damn hand off that switch. Okay, never mind the delete. I was just thinking, when I go to the church that is run by Pastor Timio, I often find that it's the music that really gets to me. That's the one that, and I'm unashamedly sentimental when it comes to this, and touching music can touch me. Well, that's what touching music is for, isn't it? It touches you. That's why it's called touching music. But am I labouring a point? I guess I am again. Well, I was thinking that there are so many different kinds of music that get a point over, and they do it very, very well. Now, one of the, if I may make a request, I always say there's nothing I need. Oh gosh, there's one thing that I do need. In my younger days, and I have had some younger days, I used to, there were a few really great LPs, and I've said this before. Sorry, I'm swatting mosquitoes that are like the size of a 747, it seems to me. And there were great music. There was a Count Basie, the Atomic Mr. Basie, which I thought was an incredible piece of music. Well, the whole thing. There was also JJ and K plus 6. Oh God, I got this affectionate, lovesick cat again. What? Huh? So, if I can keep the cat under control. There was the Planet Suite, Gustav Holst. I loved the Planet Suite, and I used to listen to Mars, God of War, because of the incredible climax at the end, where they keep playing these very, very powerful discordant chords, and just incredible music, and I listened to that over and over and over again. What else did I well, Quincy Jones, and an album called Quintessence. Boy, if anybody has these, if anybody has these albums and they have them and they can send them to me by what is it, a PD3 or an MP3, and they can send them, I would be so grateful. So Oscar Brown Jr., that the record that he made, which so impacted me because of the incredible lyrics, and it was called Between Heaven and Hell. I'm sure that that was the title, but I'm scraping away cobwebs over an aging, weary memory, and I think it was Between Heaven and Hell, Oscar Brown Jr. If you get a chance to listen to that, just listen to the words. And so, you know what it's like, sometimes you get one particular song and it will be running through your head the entire day, and you keep on singing it over and over and over. Well, I keep on singing it over and over, mostly to myself so that I don't annoy anybody. But I listened to this particular one. It's called Mr. Kicks. Mr. Kicks. K-I-C-K-S. Mr. Kicks. And I thought, wow, if when we go to church, they have these inspiring songs, and then there are lessons against this. You have lessons which warn you against doing certain stuff. We'll just discount it as stuff, okay? Present company accepted, as you and I would never do any stuff. Well, one of the songs that I've been, isn't it called a worm? It's called a worm when you have something that you simply can't get out of your head, and it just keeps going around and around on one of those loops. Well, I had this going around in my head, and the lyrics would fit in very well as a warning at church, I thought, in the Terence church, at least. And this is what it sounds like without, of course, it's a cappella, without any music. Well, I'm hoping that there will be music, but it won't be accompanied. So, to introduce myself, the name is Mr. Kicks. I dwell in the dark dominions, way down by the river Styx. The devil has got me here because I'm full of wicked tricks, and I'm such a popular fella among all your lunatics. I teach a course in ruination from the devil's text. To fools who can't withstand temptation, step right up your next. I dwell in the dark dominions, way down by the river Styx. Permit me to introduce myself. The name is Mr. Kicks. Now, don't you think that's a wonderful story to warn off young people who are, or old people, or even middle-aged people, those who can pay attention and still do the stuff? Isn't it a wonderful message? Mr. Kicks. Permit me to introduce myself. The name is Mr. Kicks. I dwell in the dark dominions, way down by the river Styx. Wonderful song. It's just wonderful. And once you start singing it, oh my God, you can't get it out of your head. Well, that was my little worm for the day, which I've been going on to. Right, so what else was the music of the day? Now, I don't know, I never got into pop music until I joined a band called Bob Miller and the Millermen. And I went from playing in small jazz groups. This is before I actually got out of the army. I used to play in what was called the Latin Quarter in Reading in Berkshire. And some people out there who are at least 150 years old might remember that club. It was a small club in a small town of Reading. I actually spent the last sort of 18 months or 2 years of my army service in that little town, and it was fun. I got to know great people there. Some of my oldest, dearest friends were made during that time. But I used to play jazz, and it was so funny because it's one of those music kinds of music which it enjoys a certain following, but it doesn't enjoy the adulation that the general top 40 has. Well, I soon found out by joining the Bob Miller Band, which was a very successful band in the UK, not a recording band, not in the top 40. We used to cover the top 40, so we would do all kinds of numbers from the top 40, and we did good music and we did bad. The good music I remember very, very much, and I learned a lot from that band leader about trying to work out what an audience would want next. And when I started my own band, I benefited from what Bob Miller did. Even though Bob Miller at that time was not revered as a great musician, he did have an innate connection with an audience where he knew what they wanted next. And he was a big man, quite a personable man, but sometimes a fumbling, bumbling idiot, which is really, that describes a lot of musicians who fail as musicians and then are very, very successful as band leaders. Musicians generally are a dark lot. What do they say? They describe themselves as being like mushrooms, and excuse my language, but they say we're like mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed on bullshit, and that's what they describe themselves as. It's a very black humour. Well, he and other band leaders that I know about, that I played with, so Bob Miller I learned a great deal from, and the band, that was no doubt the best band, some fine musicians in it, and we did a show called Parade of the Pops, and I did that show. That show ran for quite a few years, I think, at the Playhouse, the BBC Playhouse, and I did that live. We did a live show every Wednesday, and I think it was called, if I remember rightly, Parade of the Pops. So we did that, and we had some quite, if I might drop a name or two, or well, at least one anyway. What can I? Yeah, Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was on that show. He was a guest on that show. Well, he sent his body along, and he was in. I think he was somewhere in outer space, but he sent the body along. Very good, and he brought his own band. He didn't work with our band as accompaniment. He played, and he played the guitar with his teeth, and strong teeth, that boy. And he had that military uniform on, and that big woolly hair, that big woolly hairdo, which became so popular later. The afro, everybody got an afro. That was when, if I may digress, that was when black people started to have a sense of beingness, and they started to realise that, I think, just my opinion, they began to realise that actually they were more beautiful in many cases than white people, and it was a strange time to be in. Then you started to get incredible bands that were coming up, and they were black, and they were unashamedly black. They weren't trying to straighten their hair. There was quite a few different black artists, and they seemed to be trying to I don't know, be white people, and they would straighten their hair, and of course it would look terrible. And then later you got this strange turnaround. They stopped trying to straighten their hair, and white people started to curl their hair. Isn't it funny how these things just kind of turn around? It makes you realise that if you take a silver dollar, if you just turn it this way, it's heads, and if you turn it that way, it's tails. And the only difference between the two is some minute, what is it, a 32nd of an inch, and that's the only difference between heads and tails. Well, even one of the guys in the band, he went out and had an afro, and he came in one day, and we tried not to laugh, but it was one of those things. So things turn around in the most unusual way. Well, I learned a lot from that band, and then a little bit later I went into another band called the Raymond Vey Orchestra and Singers. It's a very, very grand way of describing a top 40 copy band, which Bob Miller was, a top 40 band that copied. And we copied very, very well, a very good brass section that was very, very precise. Let me see, Cat Stevens came on that show too, and then he later became Mohammed something or other. I think they all become Mohammed, don't they, when they change their religion. And anyway, that's what he did, and he came and what did he do? Matthew and Son. Dee-dee-doo-doo, 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 dee-dee-doo-doo. Kind of a jazzy kind of phrase, you know, and yeah, and we had Donovan. Donovan was on that show, and he came on, and he was very laid back. And what was one of his things? You may have noticed now that I'm not singing with any words. That's because I've forgotten them, or I can't actually remember them just right at this moment. So he had quite a jazzy thing. That was about the time that people like Bowie we called him Bowie, but then the Americans got hold of it, and as with most other pronunciations, they called him Bowie. I never know why. I never know, anyway, if I may digress again, why the Americans change any kind of pronunciation. They have these strange ways of pronouncing things. If you go in and talk about a truck in the UK, they will call the truck a semi, a semi, but then when you go to America, they call it a semi. And then when you have someone who is called Demi Moore, everybody in England is saying, oh yes, Demi Moore is my favourite. But she's going on and she's getting quite annoyed, and she's saying, no, my name is Demi. Would you go on and say, he drives a semi truck? No, I don't think you would you? So anyway, we've got to call her Demi Moore. And then you have all of these different ways of pronouncing things, which I won't digress into because I can't remember any of them anyway. So you've got all of these kinds of things. Music was very much a dominant part of my life. Well, obviously I'm a damn musician at that time, so obviously it was. I think I've explained how musicians, when they are in a top 40 band, are really kind of like they're like social cripples, you know, because they get in the car and turn the radio on, and they'll hear, you know, if you're in a small band, you might hear, Yellow river is in my mind and in my heart. Yellow river, yellow. You'll hear something like that, and then you go into work, and somebody will come up and they'll make a request, and then you'll be going, Yellow river is in my. And then when you go on for the second set, the same person comes up and says, could you do that number again? And you're going, Yellow river, yellow. See, very quickly your mind starts to deteriorate. You know, it kills the brain cells. Because when you leave and you go home, you get into the car and turn the radio on, and it's damn Radio 1 again. And what are they playing? Yellow river is in my mind. It's like that. You get home, and if you turn the TV on, what are they doing? Yellow river. And then they make that damned advert up for the telephone. And it's, your fingers are walking, and and they put the Yellow River tune on. It drives you damn crazy. And then you get a night off and you go to hear a live band, and unless you go to listen to jazz, what's the band playing? Yellow River. Yeah, it makes you a social cripple. In the end, you don't want to listen to any music. In fact, somebody on our channel said that I was a music downer. Mainly that's because when my dear wife, who is not actually listening right now, so this is strictly between you and me, and I know that you won't tell, she actually sings quite badly out of tune, and this is painful to me. So I try to get out of the house as quickly as possible and as far away as possible when she starts singing. And somebody actually suggested that when we get our new truck, I should put a karaoke machine into the truck. Why do you hate me, sir? We're not going to do that, okay? We'll put a radio in, and hopefully when I turn it on, it won't be going, Yellow River is in my... We'll hope for that, at least. But I've been on for 21 minutes. Oh, for God's sake, I can't stop talking sometimes. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in.